Welcome to Downtown Info. Please subscribe to our channel and also turn on the notification bell to get our latest updates.
I call on African leaders present in Washington today to tell Paul Biya, you cannot embark on annihilating a sovereign people who decided to join you freely without war. Just as you cannot kill your abused fiancé if he decides to not continue with the marriage. President Mitterrand, for example, advised Paul Biya that he should not accept federalism. That in case of any uprising, Paul Biya should be prepared to use that as the alibi to crush the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia and seal our fate as their conquered people. Their hope was that in the event of war, La République du Cameroon will crush us as they did to the UPC-led nationalist resistance.
Sako Samuel Ekome, one of the leaders of the separatist movement fighting for the free and independent country they call Ambazonia, has released a speech reacting to the invitation of President Paul Biya by the US President Joe Biden to the US African Leaders Summit. Although not invited at the summit, Sako says he is making his speech as an uninvited leader of the newest country in Africa. It should be recalled that some leaders of other factions of the Ambazonian struggle took to the streets of Washington yesterday to protest for the same purpose. Please stay tuned and listen to part of his speech.
These are the direct effects of the failure of the post-independence and neo-colonial order promoted in my own part of Africa, principally by the French. French policies towards Cameroon were developed in the 1950s by a post-war political leadership in France that sought primarily to guarantee their own survival as a nation and to uphold their status as a war leader. We, the people of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, were caught up in the French web when we were forced by the United Nations to get independence by joining. We voted to join La République du Cameroon as two gentlemen, but the French pushed Amadou Ahidjo to opt for reunification instead of unification, and to go for annexation instead of equality, and adopt a unitary state instead of a federation. The French also advised Ahidjo in Fumban in 1961 to reject every common sense proposal by the people of the southern Cameroons for a genuine union of two states of equal status. The French then helped to draft the fraudulent 1961 constitution that was never ratified as required by our southern Cameroon's House of Assembly in Buea. The French President Pompidou ordered Ahidjo to abolish the fictitious federation between La République du Cameroon and the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia in 1972 through a fraudulent referendum. And then the French finally advised Paul Biya to finalize the annexation project of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia by reverting to their former name which they had before, La République du Cameroon. Throughout all these times, America has been playing the concerned observer in what is customarily referred to as France's sphere of influence in geopolitics. The CIA carried out many studies on the problem of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, warning of the rising tensions in the southern Cameroons. But America did nothing practical to engineer genuine resolution of the problem through dialogue. My fellow Americans, whenever there was a call for dialogue with the people of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, whether it is the AAC 1 and 2 of 1993-94 or the African Court of Human and People's Rights in Banjul in the early 2000s, the French will move to reassure their puppet regime in Yaoundé that they don't have to cave in. President Mitterrand, for example, advised Paul Biya that he should not accept federalism. that in case of any uprising, Port Biya should be prepared to use that as the alibi to crush the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia and seal our fate as their conquered people. Their hope was that in the event of war, La République du Cameroon will crush us as they did to the UPC-led nationalist resistance in the 50s, like flies in La République. So in 2017, President Macron, while visiting West Africa, met with Port Biya and asked him to send his military to declare war on the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Little did he know that the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia will rise, as we have done, with enough strength and resolve to stand and resist their barbaric, genocidal army for 6 long years and counting. Today, France seems to have lost the moral compass to instruct La République du Cameroon on the path for a political solution, to resolve what they erroneously ordered Cameroon to do in the first place. Hence, the situation in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia needs an outsider to resolve, not the French. The French are parties to the ongoing conflict in Ambazonia. Also, the French are somewhat paralyzed at this time by certain issues deriving from their existing alliances with their former colonies. Number one, guilt has destroyed the moral authority of the French to act today on certain issues affecting the continent. Number two, the rise of anti-French sentiment in all their former colonies have also diminished France's boldness on the continent. And number three, the fear of the Russian expansion within former French colonies has taken the gusto away from the political power of the French in Africa. Number four, the expulsion of the French in Mali and Burkina Faso recently makes France want to embrace anyone who still tolerates them, no matter how bad they are, for others' interests in the region. America cannot therefore continue to rely on an unwilling ally or a paralyzed one. America must stand on her feet and use her political and economic capital in the continent for the good of the people of Ambazonia, Cameroon, and Africa. My dear President Biden, we Americans have to stop leading from behind the French, because France is either unwilling to act against the status quo or is losing control too fast of her colonial allies because of her mistakes. The American interest in the Gulf of Guinea, for example, cannot be guaranteed on the backs of a morally disabled ally. Inaction is not an option either. America should not think that those who have issues with France today on the continent also have the same issues with America. The French, they need help to do what is right. They are like the biblical figure who said, "When I want to do good, I find myself doing the evil I don't want." If America continues to lead from behind in Ambazonia and La République, because it is so-called France's backyard, the prize will be Russia next door in the Gulf of Guinea. I call on African leaders present in Washington today to tell Port Biya, you cannot embark on annihilating a sovereign people who decided to join you freely without war. Just as you cannot kill your abused fiancé if he decides to not continue with the marriage. African leaders, we should start helping each other in solving Africa's problems. We cannot be claiming Africa for Africans, but when there are serious conflicts tearing apart a fellow African country, we look away, waiting for an erstwhile colonial master, the US or EU, to take the initiative. Where are the elders in the continent of Africa? There is an African proverb which says, until a person starts to assume the responsibilities of another fellow man, that person cannot be known as an adult in the community. Where is the AU on the issue of the conflict between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia? I call on the Ambazonian people also to remain hopeful that America, the beacon of freedom, cannot sacrifice her values on the world stage because of an ailing, bloodthirsty dictator like Paul Biya. I think America is trying to reach out to a sleazy dictator that is unreachable. Whenever you send envoys to reach him, it's impossible. Our concern should be the message from President Biden to dictator Paul Biya.